And people feel so bad for me, and they say, "Oh, you have to have another child. Why don't you adopt?" But they don't realize that he's the child that I want.
Could have said something to ease the pain. Just a few words would have made a happy home again. We were dangling, about to fall. Every wall could tell a story. Every hallway calls your name. All the joy and pain, I'm sorry, I'm waiting for it.
It really is a family secret. It's something that a lot of families don't talk about, babies that die. Hi, I'm Marlene Angevine. I work for Manitoba Midwifery in the capacity of a second birthing attendant. I also have a doula service, and I'm the practice administrator, so I do lots of things, but it's all pregnancy related.
Hi, I'm Richard, and we're due on December 2nd.
I'm Candy, and I'm due January 12th.
We're due now.
John and I had a child that died. And when you're going through a perinatal bereavement loss or a loss of any kind, it's a very lonely time. And even though John's parents live very close, it didn't really seem to make it any easier for them or myself.
It's only my opinion, but I don't think they don't cope with it well either, where most people don't. So it's not something they like to talk about. And to be involved in with someone that's experiencing that, and to deal with the funeral aspect of it, and that it's something that's just left unsaid.
I often wish my own family was closer, but maybe that wouldn't have helped either, because it has to be someone who's willing to help you through that, not just be close physically. It's just taboo where everyone gets uncomfortable, and even though I'm very comfortable talking about it, I used to think that it was because they thought I was uncomfortable, but now I think it's because they're uncomfortable. They don't know what to say, or they don't know how to express their feelings, so they just avoid it. I just feel that, they would just rather pretend like it never happened. And I guess that would be the easy thing to do, but that's not the way I want to treat my son's life, as something that never happened. These sleepers were the only physical thing that he had ever had on his body. For weeks, and for a whole year I slept with these sleepers, but for weeks I would put them inside my pajamas, because I didn't get dressed too much in those days, and inside whatever I was wearing, and carry them around, because it was the only physical thing that I had of his to make me feel physically closer to him. So yeah, these little sleepers, surprised they're not wore out from me wearing them around. I never really looked at pregnancy as this wonderful, feeling of having this baby grow inside you and how great you would feel. I just never put the two together. And I guess maybe that was, in my age group, that was sort of how we grew up, that pregnancy was a means to an end. It wasn't to be, this great experience. And it was a great experience. But I have to be totally honest, when he died, I thought, oh my God, I'm being punished because I never wanted children. So of course he's died. I didn't want him in the first place. In 1996, I was diagnosed with severe endometriosis. And at that time, I was told that I would never be able to conceive a child.
Outside.
John was very focused that, we weren't going to have any children, and that was fine with him.
Come on, Brooke.
The next year in August, I decided to go out east to spend a few weeks with my mother. And I was having symptoms that were pregnancy-like, and my mom was teasing me, saying, I think you're pregnant. And I was saying, yeah, right. I was just told this would never happen. I must have some other problem. Dr. Eddington said to me, Erlene, it's positive. And he said, this is a true miracle, because he said you should never have conceived a child. So I said, well, if I'm given a miracle, I'm going to go with it.
Not wanting children in the first place, it's kind of a bit of a hard pill to swallow, let's say.
How did this happen? I'm like, pardon me? how did this happen? I think you know, dear.
I found it kind of bitter until the first time we went for the ultrasound where I was present, and it turned into kind of an emotional thing, and to see it became more physical then, more than just a thought, and it really changed your mind.
We both cried when we saw his little heart and his legs, and it was just an amazing thing. And we went for lunch afterwards, and sat there and cried and said, "Oh my God, we're having a baby!"
That's when the excitement started. The can't wait till the end, can't wait to see what he looks like.
This is his head, and his arms are sort of folded like this, and his knees are brought up to his chest, and those two little bumps are knees. It's hard to tell an ultrasound picture, but he was perfectly fine, and it was a he, because everyone thought I was having a little girl, but now I knew for sure that it was a little boy. Yeah, so basically this is where it will all happen, is in this room. Antonox, which is laughing gas. It is an option if you so choose.
What about for the fathers?
You're not really supposed to be in pain.
When I hit the floor, I might. It's possible.
Maybe we'll have a Thanksgiving baby, because we tend to have babies, like we said, just Manitoulin and midwifery, on, like special days, right?
Yeah, that's
I don't know if we can miss out on the turkey, though.
I'll have you back for turkey.
I was 39 weeks. My mom was sitting across from me, and she said, "I don't see the baby moving very much, or not at all." And I said, "Well, he hasn't moved much in the last few days, but the doctor said as they get bigger, it's harder for them to move." And I wasn't alarmed. Tammy Rolston was one of the moms that was pregnant at the same time that I was. Tammy's also the ultrasound tech, so she gets to know all of us if we go to the hospital here to have our ultrasounds done.
I got a phone call saying there was a woman coming. I'm gonna cry. There was a woman coming in that was querying fetal demise that day, and I didn't really think much of it. And about a half an hour or 20 minutes later, or whatever the time frame was, Arlene appears. We both sat here and cried. I think we cried before anything even happened. And I pretty much just put the probe down like I always do, and Arlene pretty much knew in a second that it wasn't good. About 7 of us all experiencing this whole pregnancy thing and having all of the babies being born in the same 6 weeks. And I guess I thanked God that it wasn't my baby, and that's I think how we all thought. And all of us were still walking around very pregnant, thinking, "Oh my God, this could happen to any one of us at any time."
How could my baby die inside of me and I not know? I felt tremendous guilt for that. It just didn't seem maternal that could possibly happen.
Of course, Arlene wanted to remain pregnant as long as possible because she knew that after the birth occurred, then that was it.
To Dr. Powen, I said, "I want to have a C-section," and he said, "But we can't." And I said, "What do you mean you can't? You're going to make me have this baby and he's died?" And he said, "Arlene, my wife didn't want to either, and I'm a doctor and I had no connections. You have to have this baby vaginally."
She started to develop some sort of skin rashes, and then I started to really get concerned for her health, that, we have to do something, we have to do it now.
The following Monday, I went to Little Current to do an induction. And, by about, 9:30 or 8:30, I was fully dilated. So I just felt that's where the inner strength came, and I just felt, okay, now this is my time. This is the only thing I can do for this little person. I'm going to do this in a very orderly, controlled fashion. In 3 pushes, he was born.
That's one of the big anticipations, I think, is who's he going to look like here? We already knew the sex, of course, because we had the testing done, and we found later on that he did look like both of us, really.
He had John's nose and eyes, but he had my toes, and because John doesn't like his ears, so the first thing he looked to see if he had his ears, and I said, "No, he has my ears," and it was a real mixture, like all the things you look for when you have a new baby.
His appearance has altered quite a bit, and he's still your son, though, so you have to.
It was a very emotional 2.5 hours, and it did seem like we had him for longer than that at the time because we had to pack a whole lifetime into 2.5 hours. When he first died, people would say to me, something good will come out of this, Erlene. And I would be so furious because I was so raw in grief and say, what possible good could come out of the death of a baby? And now 5 years, post William's birth, there's so many good things that have come out of it.
Nice to see Jim and Aaron, Mary. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just see how they're doing.
Hi.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Good. Good. Come on in.
Hello, Aaron.
Then when William died, Mary Bowie, she was the nurse that sort of followed me through that process. I mean, she even came to Sudbury with me and sat there, and then she was there with me in Little Current when William was born. And, has since opened a midwifery practice here on the island, and, we work very closely together.
That's quite an effort.
Most midwives wouldn't take on someone green like myself who had no nursing background, but she taught me from the ground up. And, that was a real gift because if she hadn't have sort of taken me under her wing, I would have had to go to school someplace and it would have been a much longer process, and I want to start helping people right away. The stick is the last thing to do?
Not quite. I don't think we've done the scales.
Uh-oh. Just can't yell it out loud.
No.
Things are moving along, and we decided that we want to have the baby here. Can we do that?
I guess we would have to call the ambulance at that. If you decided at that stage, we'd have to put them on call. And the thing, it becomes dangerous to put Erin in a car at 10 centimeters and send her to Little Current because it does. Because
Could
at
have
least
it in the way there.
it's a controlled environment here. I had a friend whose name is Paula, and we were pregnant at the same time.
Hello, Mr. Brett. How are you?
Brett, why don't you tell Erlene where we're going next weekend? Where are we going with the four-wheelers?
Hen camp.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Do you hit the cans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes I shoot it with my bow and arrow.
And then after, our babies were born, it was really a difficult situation. I just felt she had everything I didn't have, and I remember, we had baby showers, and she sent me a note after her baby shower, and I still had the note, and it said, we'll, in another month or so, we'll be pushing strollers down the street. And I remember grabbing the note and being so angry and ripping it into a million shreds and thinking, yeah, I'll be pushing one in the cemetery.
How far were you from your due date?
I was 39 weeks.
You were 39 weeks, so I was, 38 weeks? Mm-hmm. And Chris called me. I was just sitting at home relaxing, and he was uncontrollably crying. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, Erlene's baby's dead. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, they were just in here, and I didn't believe it. I was in shock. And then he said, and she's coming up to visit you. I remember how close we lived to the pharmacy. Mm-hmm. And my first instinct was, oh my God, I just can't deal with this. And I jumped up and closed the curtains and went to lock the door, and you were standing there.
I thought if you saw me that, you'd realize that I was very distraught, but I was okay.
I think the reality hits you in the face, like that death will touch me. Mm-hmm. And I remember after Madison was born, Sarah had the barbecue and had all of us there with our babies, and we all sat down and had a cry and said, there's a person missing from this picture.
Mm-hmm. And I remember I saw that picture on your fridge.
Oh God, I never even thought.
And I said, oh, what was this? Because I realized that it was all of us that were pregnant that was in this picture. And you said, oh, it was just a get together, nothing. Because I think, you didn't realize that I'd see it on the fridge or whatever. And I kind of thought everybody got together and I wasn't even invited.
And it scared me to how you would react around Brett. Like, I wasn't worried you were going to steal him or hurt him or anything, but it just really scared me, and I didn't, I couldn't let myself go there.
William, here are the balloons. Have fun. Let them go. Let them go to William. Here they go.
Brett was about 2 months old at the time. or 2.5 months old. And John had bought me this chair for nursing in that, a nice comfortable chair. So I took Brett and I went over and I sat in this chair where I should have been sitting with my own child. And it was such a mixture of emotions. Like I just wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, but then I was so happy because he was so beautiful and so healthy. And it was a very horrible moment. And I shared with her just recently that she and John had gone outside and left me alone with Brett. So I took him upstairs and I put him in William's bed. And just for a moment, because he started to cry as soon as I put him down. And then I thought, oh dear, what am I doing? I can't, this isn't right. I mean, this isn't his bed.
I worried about her daily, because we'd spent of course the whole time of the end of the pregnancy together, and of course I had to go back to work, and it left Arlene pretty much on her own.
I couldn't concentrate on anything, so I basically watched TV, ate Oreo cookies, and cried. I'll probably have a birth this weekend. A lot of people do, so.
That'd be nice.
After William died and John was so there for me, I really couldn't imagine going through anything in my life without him by my side. And so we decided to get married.
She's my hero. I like him.
William was born in 97 and we got married the summer of 1999. That was a gift that William gave us because I don't think we probably would have gotten married otherwise. This one's actually pretty good. William has made such a change in so many people's lives and has helped so many people through me.
Oh, pushing thing is coming on.
Good. That's what we want.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Strong.
Ay.
Pressure.
Oh, baby. Oh.
That's it. Talk to the baby. Talk to the baby to come on.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just kicking.
Let him kick. He's trying to get out.
Man, oh man.
She honestly could count on her one hand the amount of times she swore before she met me.
Man, oh man. Oh, pressure.
I guess I am a birth junkie because I'm a doula. I'm a second birthing attendant.
Oh, it's definitely made a huge difference. I don't have the pressure.
When I'm part of a normal process, yes, it is a healing process for me because I realize that's how it's supposed to be. What happened to me is very tragic and not the norm. And for me to be part of it, it's wonderful.
Oh.
When I get that little baby to do the head to toe, and I get to rub, oil all over their body and give them a nice little, make them feel soft and cozy and put their diaper on them for the first time, it really is a thrill for me because I get to do that over and over and over again. I get to experience something I never got to experience with my own child. And people feel so bad for me and they say, well, you have to have another child. Why don't you adopt? But they don't realize that he's the child that I want. I want the baby I carried for 9 months and, delivered out of my body. I don't want another baby. we haven't been able to put a tombstone there. A friend made us a cross with his name on it and put it there shortly after he's buried. But it just seems like the finality of the stone is, I've designed it, I've talked to the man who's going to make it, and I just can't go through with it.
The wind chime's still here.
It's just a broken heart like I've never experienced in my life. But I think one of the reasons that is because I never experienced that kind of love. I never knew I could love someone as much as I loved my child.
Could have said something to ease the pain. Just a few words would have made a happy home again. We were dead.